right, let's get started, everybody. Look up here at the screen and listen to me. You're going to need a couple of things for this. We're just doing some simple ink notes, much like we've done with our graphite and charcoal. You're going to need a little palette like this. I don't think I have enough of these for everybody in the class, but I have some that are similar. It just needs to have separate wells is what I'm looking for, okay? You're going to need a brush. These will be in the ink kits. And then you're going to need a pen. You've got some options when it comes to pens. I've got these Uniball Visions that I really like a lot. I've also got some of these dip pens with the little nibs in them if you want to experiment with those. So what you're going to do for our first one here, hold off a minute, everybody. I'll get you set up. Just watch for now. You're going to start with a value scale. I can't really show you this because I can't set it down. I'm at an angle here. But you're going to fill one well with a little bit of ink, and then you're going to add water to your other wells. So you're going to need a cup of water for this. And then you're going to add a little bit of ink to the water to adjust how light or dark the well is. Okay? And we're trying to get 8 distinct tones, so we're going to kind of have to adjust our water for that. So I'm going to start by sketching out a box. I'll label this number 1. I'm just going to do a box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm going to 8 values. Now I don't have to do this one because this will just be the white of the paper, and this one will be pure ink. So I'm going to start with that. And you may want an area to kind of mess around a little bit and try to adjust and mess with things. I'll show you that as we go. So first I'm going to start with my brush here, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint this in, or ink it in, as it were. And now I'm going to move on to my next well, and I'm going to try to mix a shade lighter. So I'm going to actually take some of the ink on my wet brush here, put it into the next well, and then just add some water. So I'm kind of, see that? Yeah, adding water to this. And then I just need a spot, and you can use your sketchbook or you can use scrap paper where I'm just going to test it, see how light it's gotten. And I really just want to kind of adjust this until I see a noticeable change in value. It's probably going to take a little while. This ink is pretty intense. It's like the circus beauty pageant. You guys hear the one about the circus beauty pageant? It was pretty intense. All right, so I can go next one. This might even be a little bit light. So I see like a pretty big change from here to here. So maybe I'll add a little more ink to it. That's a little more what I'm looking for.
Oh, okay. I'm following now.
I'm going to continue to dilute this. I can also pull it over to another well if I want. I only have 6 wells, so I'm not going to be able to get all my values at the same time. I'm just looking for it to get a little lighter. That's a little lighter. Some more. I've got kind of just a drawing paper I'm using, so you can see it's getting kind of groovily. If you have a mixed media sketchbook, hopefully it'll work a little bit better at least. Now let's see if this is lighter. Yeah, it's a little lighter. Am I going to be able to get another 3 values out of this? I think so. I think that's a pretty good kind of medium tone. I'm just adding water to my well here. Not that much of a difference. I might go in with just a little bit of water now and dilute it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that should be lighter. And if you do make a mistake, it's a good idea to have a paper towel around so you can dab it really quickly and take off at least some of that pigment. So that's pretty close to 8 distinct values. They're getting a little similar in this range, but that's all right. So for the next one, it's just brush line quality. So you're just going to take ink and try to use your brush in different ways. So try to figure out how to make the finest lines you can, maybe the lightest touch possible. And then you might apply a little more effort or a little more pressure. You might do some where you're moving the brush sideways. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But you're just playing around, making different marks with the brush, seeing what kind of strokes you can get. Maybe you have somewhere you push and then lift off marks. But just kind of play around with the brush. That one's super easy. Next one is a pen value scale. You can use either one of these dip pens or one of these for this. If you're using a dip pen, you really want to evaluate and kind of examine the tip and make sure it's all intact. Because people are not very careful with these. They're not very gentle. They break them a lot. The way this works is you just need to get a little bit of ink on the tip here. You don't want too much or it's going to gather up and drip. It's a little tricky to manage. If you're super OCD about things, this might not be the pen for you. But if you don't mind working with the mess, they're kind of fun. Scratchy, scratchy sound. I have a variety of different tips for them too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're just going to hatch or cross hatch for these. So this first one probably be entirely filled up. Should be used to my Uniball. It's easier. This one you only need to do 5, so it should be pretty easy. I got my 5 values. As you can see, this is a little bit like scratchier and rougher, which is kind of a fun effect for certain things, but just kind of know what you're getting into. If you want to try both of them, that'd be a great idea too. You can use the Uniball and the quill pens. Same idea. You can test them both out. And then the fourth one, this is a tricky one. This is going to be gradated spheres. So for this one, you're going to use a pencil to sketch it out. Let's mark this into 4. You're going to start by sketching out with a pencil a circle. If you want, you can mark that terminator line. Terminator line is going to be the border between light and shadow. You don't necessarily need to mark it, but if you want to, you can. And then you're going to go in with ink and use some of the ink you mixed before that's in your wells. Try to find a good tone to start with. So the way it's going to work is we're looking for a nice gradation. So everything on the shadow side of that terminator line is going to be pretty much the same tone. And then we want it to transition into the light area. So here, I want a nice gradation in between. You might start by adding some water or trying to move pigment around with a clean brush. You want a subtle sort of change there. Another thing you might do is wet the paper first and then see how that makes the ink carry. Then it should transition pretty quickly into really light tones. And then I want to move into my lighter wells. I can check it. we'll have kind of a highlight up here. But you might want, usually underneath the sphere we've got a little well of shadow. Alright, so that's the idea today. That's what we're kind of looking for. Here's my cast shadow. Okay. So I will distribute kits now, and you guys can get that started